This monstrous stag with a terrifying face and a mouthful of fangs was called Bambi. At that moment, he was hunting a woman, eventually cutting her in half. Bambi once lived carefree in the forest with his mother. One day, greedy poachers entered the forest, and a single gunshot killed Bambi's mother. After countless hardships, Bambi grew up healthy and even raised the next generation. However, tragedy struck again. A truck from a local company, Webecker Pharmaceuticals, fatally ran over Bambi's offspring while transporting toxic waste. In the ensuing panic, Bambi's offspring disappeared. Devastated, Bambi drank from a river contaminated by toxic chemicals, which caused a horrific mutation in his body, turning him into a ravenous creature bent on revenge. Unaware of this, a young woman named Zana sat in a taxi, ready to take her son Benji to visit his grandmother. Halfway down the road, a massive stag suddenly appeared in the street. The taxi was lifted and flipped by Bambi's antlers. Zana and Benji survived, but the driver was trapped under twisted metal. Bambi stomped the car repeatedly. Zana pulled Benji out and ran over 30 feet before daring to look back. The giant stag now stood on the overturned car, screaming wildly, its mouth full of sharp fangs. Meanwhile, Benji's extended family was at a nearby house preparing dinner. Andrew prepared a feast of steak, while his wife, Harriet, sipped wine and complained about Benji's father, Simon, who hadn't shown up or called. Joshua explained the lack of signal and disconnected landline due to Mary's repeated false police calls. Harriet hurried to find Mary, who she brought back inside. Mary murmured quietly, "They are here," as Zana and Benji burst in, recounting their terrifying encounter. Andrew suggested waiting until dawn to call the police, but Joshua rushed out to help the trapped taxi driver. Elsewhere, 3 bounty hunters hired by Webecker Pharmaceuticals found the overturned car but not Bambi. Mistaking Joshua for the stag, one hunter shot and killed him instantly. Back at the house, Mary began sketching frantically. Every sketch depicted an enormous stag resembling Bambi. Soon the lights flickered, a dead bird fell, and Bambi smashed through the window into the living room. Chaos erupted. Harriet tried hiding in a kitchen cabinet, but drops of liquid fell on her head from Bambi's fanged mouth. Bambi pursued Harriet through the house. Despite her efforts, he split her in two with his antlers. Zana and others helped Mary into an RV, while Andrew struggled with the car's gears. Bambi chased the car, ramming its trunk, but left Harrison alone when he buried his face in a pile of dung. Mary, in a sudden moment of clarity, walked into the woods, muttering, "Death, death." Zana noticed bones littering the ground. It was Bambi's lair. They ran back to the road and flagged down a passing car, which turned out to be Michael, the leader of the hunters. Inside the den, Benji saw 2 hunters abusing a caged fawn, Bambi's missing offspring. Tyler wandered off and was instantly killed by Bambi. Eddie, realizing his partner was gone, ran to the car, only to be killed by Bambi smashing through the glass. Benji quietly freed the fawn. Zana discovered the hidden corpses of the missing family members, realizing Michael and his men were ruthless. Joe, a female hunter guarding the base, made a noise trying to escape. Bambi charged at her, and she set off a gas tank, causing an explosion that illuminated the night. During the explosion, Zana and Benji reunited. Michael demanded Benji hand over the fawn, but Benji held it tight. Simon, Benji's father, urged him to let go, but he refused. Bambi, still alive despite the flames, charged at Michael. Michael's bullets did nothing, and Bambi slammed into him. Mary appeared like a warrior and shot Michael, killing him instantly. Simon, who had fled earlier, discovered a strange rabbit in his car, sensing danger. Zana placed the fawn on the ground, calming Bambi, who licked the fawn's head instead of attacking. The family was safe, for now. Bambi's rampage had ended, but the forest remained a dangerous and unpredictable place, where toxic mutations had turned nature itself into a relentless hunter. Simon, having fled earlier, drove quickly through the forest, thinking he had escaped the nightmare. But inside his car, he noticed something strange. A rabbit sitting quietly on the passenger seat. Its eyes glowed unnaturally in the dark, and its fangs were sharp and menacing. Panic overtook him. Simon reached to open the door, but the rabbit leapt toward him with unnatural speed. He swerved violently, barely avoiding a tree, and realized that the forest itself had become a hunting ground. Every mutated creature, from the massive Bambi to the swarming fanged rabbits, was a threat. Meanwhile, Zana, Benji, and Mary reached a safe clearing near the forest road. The fawn nuzzled Benji, calming him. Mary's sudden clarity remained, and she warned them that the forest's mutations were not just limited to Bambi and the rabbits. Any animal exposed to the toxic waste could now be dangerous. Bambi, now watching the fawn and Benji, let out a mournful cry and disappeared back into the depths of the forest. The family, though scarred by the losses of Harriet, Andrew, and Joshua, felt a grim relief. The fawn had survived, and Bambi's rage seemed temporarily sated. Simon, still alive but shaken, returned to find the others. He tried to reconcile, but Zaina refused, blaming him for the chaos and the deaths caused by his obsession with Bambi's bounty. As dawn broke, the forest seemed quiet. But Mary, staring into the trees, warned that the chemical mutations had forever changed the wildlife. Even a small animal could be deadly. The story ended on a chilling note. The forest had become a living nightmare, and Bambi, the monstrous stag, was still out there, waiting. Simon drove frantically, trying to escape the glowing-eyed rabbit. But the forest seemed alive. Twisted shadows of trees moved with unnatural speed, and every rustle hinted at more mutated creatures lurking nearby. The rabbit hopped onto the hood of his car. Simon swerved violently, barely avoiding a ditch. Back at the clearing, Zana, Benji, and Mary tried to regroup. The fawn stayed close to Benji, sensing the lingering danger. Mary, still alert despite her dementia, muttered, "They've multiplied. The corruption spreads." Even small birds, squirrels, and insects seemed sharper, faster, more aggressive. Suddenly, distant roars echoed through the trees. It wasn't just Bambi anymore. Others, mutated like him, or worse, were roaming the forest. Shadows shifted in unnatural formations, and Zana realized their nightmare was far from over. Simon, panicking, attempted to call for help. The phone had no signal. The rabbit jumped inside the car again, narrowly missing his face. Simon finally abandoned the vehicle and ran into the woods, hoping to escape, but every path led him deeper into danger. Meanwhile, Bambi, sensing the fawn was with Benji, returned silently to the forest edge. He didn't attack the family, but his presence alone sent chills down their spines. Mary warned, "He's waiting. He's always watching." From the shadows, more mutated animals began to emerge. Deer, wolves, and even crows, all with grotesque fangs and glowing eyes. The forest was becoming an apex predator in itself, an ecosystem turned monstrous. Zana held Benji close. The fawn pressed against him. They knew their survival depended on staying quiet, moving carefully, and avoiding detection. But with Bambi and the corrupted creatures roaming freely, every step was a gamble. The family decided to move toward the main road, hoping for a passing car or help. But the forest seemed to shift behind them, every path twisting unpredictably. They heard the crack of branches. Something large was moving fast. Bambi had returned not in rage this time, but to protect his fawn. Mary, surprisingly calm, pulled out an old hunting rifle she had hidden in the RV. She knew the animals were smart, and they would only stop if confronted strategically. But even she realized that some of the mutations couldn't be fought with conventional weapons. Benji, clutching the fawn tightly, whispered, "Mom, will he ever stop?" Zana could only hug him and pray. The forest had changed, and survival meant respecting the predator that had once been just a harmless stag.